This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening everyone and welcome to Southern Cross News. A 4-year-old Devonport girl is tonight recovering in hospital after becoming the 8th person to fall victim to the meningococcal outbreak. Health authorities have just confirmed the case as strain B and are working with the girl's family to manage the risk of the disease spreading. Our reporter Sean McComish has more.
Tasmania's Public Health Service was notified of the 8th case of meningococcal yesterday. The 4-year-old from Devonport was transferred to the Royal Hobart Hospital and is now in a stable condition. It's the first case of the disease outside of Hobart this year, but authorities say it's not linked to the outbreak in the capital's northern suburbs.
This single case on the northwest coast doesn't indicate an outbreak of the disease on the northwest coast, and it doesn't have any links to the other previous cases in the south of the state.
Authorities are now urgently working with anyone who may have been in contact with the girl, providing them with antibiotics and vaccines. Health Minister Michael Ferguson says 70,000 doses of the free ACWY strain vaccine have already been delivered.
And I think that this is an important reminder. Please don't wait. If you haven't had the vaccine already, don't wait. There's no need to wait. Book in, make your appointment and get your free meningococcal vaccine.
It's important that you receive a vaccine over the next 4 weeks, particularly if you're in the north and the northwest region of the state.
Anyone with symptoms such as fever, severe headache, muscle pains, confusion or rash is urged to seek medical care immediately.
A 26-year-old Launceston man has pleaded not guilty to murdering Jake Anderson Bretner, whose torso was found by police in Tasmania's northeast last month. Reporter Jessica Moran has more from outside court.
Friends and family of 24-year-old Jake Anderson Bretner left the Launceston Magistrates Court here this morning visibly upset, hearing the not guilty plea entered by Jack Harrison Sadler. This is the second time Mr Sadler has fronted court over the murder charge, and on both occasions he's sat in the dock in a t-shirt with his head lowered. Police allege Mr Anderson Bretner was murdered, with detectives led to find his torso in bushland near Myrtle Park on August 20. Since then, forensic crews have been searching the Launceston tip. 25-year-old Gemma Clark has also been charged over the incident and has pleaded not guilty to being an accessory after the fact of murder. Both have been committed to stand trial in the Supreme Court. Ms Clark will reappear in court next month, while Mr Sadler will reappear in November. Neither have applied for bail and both will be remanded in custody.
Expert psychologists have given evidence in the case of a man who killed North Hobart shopkeeper Vula Delios. One told the court he believed the accused was affected by psychosis at least 2 months before he was released from jail and committed the fatal stabbing.
The family of Vula Delios at court today, hearing details of the mental health record of the man accused of killing their loved one. Mrs Delios was stabbed by Daryl Royston Wayne Cook at the North Hobart grocer in July 2016. Prosecution and defence lawyers agree Mr Cook committed the stabbing, but he is not guilty of murder by way of insanity. One expert witness addressed the victim's family in court, explaining the accused was affected by delusions. She said, "I know it doesn't take away the pain or the horror, but it might give you some insight." The court hearing Mr Cook was first diagnosed with schizophrenia in 2003. Forensic psychiatrist Dr Michael Jordan delved into Mr Cook's history, telling the court the accused's parents were very heavy users of alcohol. There was family violence, including some directed at him. He said this upbringing left indelible stains on the way he interacts with people and the world. He came into custody at Risdon Prison in 2015. The expert witness said while there, the accused was affected by delusions for at least 2 months before his release. On his release, the court heard he was on a mission. He thought he was a member of the Knights Templar, waging a war against heathens. On the day of the incident, the court heard Mr Cook went to a Muslim prayer room looking for what he called heathens, but no one was there. He then went to North Hobart to continue his search. Both experts saying it's unclear why he singled out Mrs Delios. The psychiatrist told the court the accused is now taking medication and has since expressed remorse for the killing. The case continues. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
Prosecutors are urging the Supreme Court to consider the community impact of an arson attack on a mental health centre as a sentence is determined for the man responsible. David Leslie Chandler is currently in custody and has been found guilty of arson. He set fire to the Peacock Centre in North Hobart in December 2016. Prosecutors say the fire has caused around $6 million worth of damage. The Crown argues it's a serious example of arson because the building was occupied at the time of the attack. Chandler's defence lawyer has reserved sentencing submissions. The subcontractor responsible for hiring plasterers for the Royal Hobart Hospital's redevelopment has had its contract terminated after it failed to confirm it was solvent. The union today alleged around 30 Tasmanians and 100 interstate workers were owed up to $1 million in unpaid wages from the company.
Another day off the tools. This plasterer says he's owed $14,000 in wages for work on the Royal Hobart Hospital redevelopment. When was the last time you got paid?
8 weeks ago, yeah.
His union alleges he is one of around 100 foreign plasterers and 30 Tasmanians who have not been paid by Accuracy Interiors, a subcontractor on the project. Today, its contract was terminated after managing contractor John Holland Fairbrother said it failed to confirm it was solvent.
We're trying to work through how much these people are owed. We say it's going to be well over $1 million.
Our expectation is that the managing contractor will ensure that these matters are resolved without delay to the completion of the project.
Well, hopefully we can get these people paid their lawful entitlements and then find them an employer to pay them correctly and get them back out to work. We don't want to delay the project.
Now every subcontractor will be audited to ensure all workers are receiving wages. John Holland Fairbrother said it had already started looking for a new subcontractor to employ the plasterers. But without any wages, many interstate workers have been left with no money to pay for accommodation or rent.
We have no place to live this night, and the builder even don't know how much they should pay us.
The managing contractor announcing today it had organised accommodation for the employees. Accuracy Interiors did not comment today, but the government has committed to ensuring every worker is paid.
We expect it to be resolved, and I want to see every single person paid their full entitlements without exception.
The $700 million redevelopment is due for completion by mid-next year. Michelle Wisby, Southern Cross News.
The Nurses Union has labelled the last 24 hours at the Launceston General Hospital as utter chaos, with more than 60 patients waiting in the emergency department and up to 8 ambulances rammed. It says the situation caused concern for staff and patients and called for an urgent increase in funding for the health system. The Health Minister said the government has already opened new beds at the hospital.
Really busy at the moment. You say to me, people say open more beds. We've opened all the wards. They're all open. And to open more beds, we need to build more buildings, and we're doing that.
Union members in the emergency department have been engaged in industrial action since March to highlight the pressures in the hospital. The Tasmania Fire Service has called for an overhaul of safety regulations for short-stay accommodation properties, saying lives could be at risk. The service fronted a parliamentary inquiry into the short-stay market today, saying hosts should be held to the same account as registered bed and breakfasts. It called for mandatory smoke alarms in bedrooms and hallways and evacuation plans to keep guests safe in the unfamiliar properties.
The sharing economy is placing the community and firefighters at risk. And this represents an extremely poor public safety outcome in TFS's view that is unacceptable.
The inquiry heard that in the last 20 years in Australia, there have been 38 fatalities in buildings used as formal short-stay accommodation. Drivers have luckily avoided injury after colliding with a herd of cows near Elizabethtown early this morning. 30 cows wandered onto the Bass Highway around 1 a.m, causing 3 separate crashes. Police closed the highway for 30 minutes near Ashgrove Cheese while the scene was cleared. A reduced speed limit was enforced on the highway throughout the day as a precaution in case other livestock had escaped. A Sandy Bay man has had his car impounded after being caught driving at 200 kilometres an hour near Liaweenie. The driver was nabbed by police on Highland Lakes Road yesterday afternoon, speeding in the 100 zone. The 34-year-old was bailed to appear in the Hobart's Magistrates Court at a later date. 3 projects aimed at building community disaster resilience have won Tasmania's 2018 Resilient Australia Awards, presented in Launceston today. The national awards aim to promote local initiatives and make our communities safer and more prepared for natural disasters. The Resilient Australia School Award went to students involved in the Holographic Lounge for Floodscapes project.
This is a flood preparedness project, so these films will be shared on social media and are available on various websites so that people can watch those not just in times of flooding but at any time.
Tasmania Fire Service's Bushfire Risk Unit took out the Community Award, while the Government Award went to the Department of State Growth. Landowners and community representatives from across the state have come together in Launceston, aiming to better prepare the state for a bushfire emergency. The State Fire Management Council consists of 10 local committees with the goal of protecting Tasmania's most at-risk communities. The dry outlook for this year's spring season, just one of many issues discussed today.
All those farmers and private land managers out there should start, if they're going to do burning, get in early, and that's the time to do it. And if they're a bit late or slow in burning, then they need to be planning to be burning for the following autumn. Autumn's not far away.
The success of the state's fuel reduction program was also praised, with several areas now recording a decreased fire risk. It was recently part of a high-paced fleet patrolling the state, but now this 2016 VF2 Commodore is enjoying a more relaxed life in the National Automobile Museum in Launceston. It's Tasmania Police's last Australian-built Holden vehicle and is on loan in an effort to preserve history.
So for us it represents, I guess, a change in vehicle fleet, and by putting it here the Tasmanian community can see, and it represents the emergency services along with the BMW that you see here as well, represents our role within the community.
And it's already proving to be a selfie hit for tourists and locals alike.
When we parked it here we thought, yeah, that'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? You know, kids love police cars, fire engines, things like that, so yeah, and you know, we get a lot of families in here.
Australia Post has produced a series of stamps to mark the occasion, featuring police vehicles from across several decades. A light-hearted show aimed at teaching youngsters about personal safety has today reached a major milestone. More than 100,000 children have now taken part in the Bravehearts Ditto Education program.
Tackling a serious issue with a bit of laughter. These students in Bracknell are among the next wave of kids taking part in the Bravehearts Ditto program, educating youngsters on what to do in situations from bullying to sexual assault, all through the play and silliness of a lion cub in overalls.
Did you want to say hi to Ditto?
He suggests that every child deserves to stay safe. He tells that everyone that people need to know the difference between being yes and no feelings. He tells people that they need to run and find trusted adults.
We all have the right to feel safe.
Today marked more than 100,000 children taking part. Acting Principal Amanda Bird encouraging others to access the program.
It's done in such a fun and engaging way, and the children get really taken in by the message, the Ditto message, through song and laughter, and it's just a really enjoyable show.
It's got the backing of the state government, which is providing $800,000 to keep Ditto delivering his message.
Well, it's fantastic that we're able to support such a fantastic organisation. We're investing a further $800,000 over the next 4 years.
Ditto, when I say a big clap, what I'm looking for...
Sean McComish, Southern Cross News.
Aged care workers have today been celebrated around the state. Barbecues were fired up as long-time workers were thanked for years of service.
The work they do is incredible. It's very hard. It's hard physically and it's hard emotionally, and they go out of their way. They don't get a very good pay. They get an award pay, but they work really hard.
The inaugural celebrations held in a bid to lift recognition of their efforts. Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news. Thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The Australian share market has returned to its downward trend as US-China trade concerns again weigh on investor confidence. The ASX 200 index has dropped by 3.8 points. A short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 71.06 US cents and 61.29 euro cents.
CSLW players have hit back at controversial claims from the North Launceston Football Club surrounding grand final day scheduling. Clarence and Glenorchy are preparing to meet in the big dance and say they've earned the right to be there on the same day as the men. Left justifying their existence in the sport yet again, two of the TSLW's best came out firing.
Those comments obviously weren't really the best to be made on social media and the way that it was gone about with the wording especially.
I mean, a few of those comments definitely girls took offence to.
Frustrations boiling over after North Launceston President Thane Brady recently stated that playing the women's match in between the Men's Mercury Cup and TSL final was like scheduling a weekend garage band in between Beyonce and Pink.
Definitely went through the wrong avenue. I mean, social media, not the place to put something like that up.
The time slot that we're playing in is awesome to be a curtain raiser for senior, the highest comp in the state. Like, I know our girls are pretty excited.
And with North Launceston hoping to field a team in the women's premier competition next year, some feel it may have done serious damage to the Bombers brand.
Definitely, it would be great to have another strong women's team up there in the north. I don't think that will happen next year, but maybe in a few years. Hopefully they'll be able to rebrand their women's name and get a few more girls back there.
But regardless of the social media storm, the club say they're ready to show why women's football in the state is here to stay at UTAS Stadium this weekend.
We focus on Saturday and show everyone how good we are and why we deserve to play at that time on the weekend.
And Launceston will be out to cap off a flawless season in the Mercury Cup competition after winning every game en route to their second straight grand final, as North Launceston look to provide a boil-over, having won 7 of their past 8 matches.
Nerves are starting to kick in. I've been thinking about it a lot actually after last year's grand final defeat. But yeah, we're really confident actually. We've came home pretty well, so we've got a lot of belief in each and every player, and hopefully that'll leave us in good stead.
The opening bounce is at 9:45 on Saturday morning at UTAS Stadium. He's one of the state's most exciting young athletes, and today Samuel Walker was honoured for his achievements, recognised as the 377th para-athlete to represent Australia following his involvement in April's Commonwealth Games on the Gold Coast. Walker is the Australian under-16 T38 100 metres record holder, with the 15-year-old also claiming silver in the long jump at last year's World Para Championships in Switzerland. To cricket, and George Bailey has been named captain of the Tigers' 14-man squad for the side's first 2 JLT One Day Cup matches. Jackson Bird, Jake Doran, Simon Malenko and Matthew Wade are among the familiar faces named, while young quick Aaron Summers and spinner Clive Rose are among the fresh ones. James Faulkner will join the squad upon wrapping up his T20 campaign in England, with the Tigers' first match beginning next Wednesday against Victoria in Townsville.
Good evening. Temperatures swung back around to be below average today. Hobart and Devonport 15, Launceston and Burnie recorded 16 degrees. Friendly Beaches out top with 17, while Mount Bobs headed the rainfall readings today with 10 millimetres. St Helens 16, Strawn, Smithton and the Islands 15, Ouse and Grove 14 degrees and Low Head 13. We were left today with patchy low to middle level cloud over us, clearing from the east during the afternoon. The main band of cloud is to the east of Tasmania, extending over New South Wales, with cold air following over Victoria and our region. Onshore flows brought some cloud to Queensland, the South Australian coast and northern WA. Tomorrow a cold front brushes our south, with another well to the west. A high over South Australia extends a ridge over Victoria, the broad trough evident over the east. The winds northwesterly at 20 to 30 knots, reaching 35 knots over the south with a 4.5 metre swell. Gale warning for waters between Tasman Island and Sandy Cape. A strong wind warning for remaining waters in the west from Sandy Cape to Stanley and from Flinders Island to Wineglass Bay. A small craft wind alert for the lakes. Still a bit windy, of course. They'll ease later in the day. Partly cloudy for Hobart, 18 degrees, 17 for Cygnet and New Norfolk with a shower or 2. Launceston, a shower or 2, the wind's easing, 16 the high, 15 the top for Devonport and Campbelltown with similar forecast. The windy day continues in the morning. Burnie showers and 15 the top for Strawn, and also showers for Smithton and 15 degrees. St Helens tomorrow, a possible shower and 16, warming up to 18 over Swansea. Fingal, a bit showery and 16 degrees. On Friday, light showers over elevated areas in the north, fine elsewhere, maybe a late shower over the west and far south. Early showers on Saturday contracting to the west, south and Bass Strait. Some thunder in the west and snow to 400 metres. And on Sunday, showers over the west, south and Bass Strait, easing during the day. A shower for Perth tomorrow as well. Sunny day for Adelaide and Melbourne, fine also for Sydney and Brisbane, and for this time of year, a rare early shower for Darwin. Partly cloudy right around the state, 11 degrees in Hobart, 11 in Launceston, Devonport 11 as well. Joe, I thought I'd wear some Collingwood colours tonight because it'll be too late next week. They'll be gone.
Don't tell Rachel that. Thanks very much, Murph. It's all from the team for now. Thanks for your company. We'll see you a little later. Bye.